Here's the snapshot of Business Standard's views of the week. China has been trying out what it calls the e-Chinese yuan and is now pushing ahead with expanding its use in multilateral trade. Former Foreign Secretary Shyam Saran writes that China has taken the global lead in setting up a digital currency. With this early mover advantage, China may take the lead in setting international standards in this area. He also notes that the West is now trying to play catch up with China in this matter and cautions India against being left behind as currency systems evolve. We live in a world where opinion is sacred and facts are dispensable, writes Veer Sanghvi in his column in Business Standard. The cacophony of social media and news television convinces many of us that the basic character of India is undergoing a transformation. Sanghvi questions whether this is the reality or are we just being made to believe in it. Are we overestimating the extent to which India has changed? Is our society really as hateful and violently angry as social media and TV would have us believe, he asks. He points out that the danger of living in a world where there are few facts and millions of opinions is that we can't even tell what people are really thinking. In his weekly column, Mahesh Vyas continues to shed light on the state of employment and unemployment in India. This week, he tries to answer a very important question. How many jobs does India need to create every year? 8 million jobs per annum is a number he quotes, and he calls it a very conservative estimate of the number of jobs India needs to raise employment and labor participation rates. In the Shaheen Bagh case, the Supreme Court recently observed that dissent and democracy go hand in hand, but protests must be carried out in designated areas. What started out as a protest caused inconvenience to commuters, the Supreme Court noted. In his column, Akar Patel quotes the Constitution and asserts that peaceful assembly is a fundamental right. According to Patel, the SC judgment is an example of how rules can be selectively used to make or break a protest. He ends by observing that this won't have the effect desired by the court, and protests will not be curtailed just because it irritates the court. According to the latest IMF projections, Bangladesh might overtake India this year by per capita income in nominal dollars. And this has brought criticism for the Indian government in the policy choices that it has made in the past. In his weekly ruminations, T. N. Nayanan argues that while Bangladesh's performance has been exemplary, it may not be wise to bet on India's eastern neighbor as South Asia's economic champion just yet. India's economy and trade mix are more diversified, with better balance also in inflows between remittances, portfolio capital, and foreign direct investment, he writes. Brought together in 1998, the National Democratic Alliance was the brainchild of L.K. Advani, writes Shekhar Gupta in his weekly column National Interest. Under Narendra Modi and Amit Shah, the BJP has now made NDA redundant. From having members of NDA parties even in the all-important Cabinet Committee on Security in the Vajpayee government, we have come to a stage where there is not even one minister of cabinet rank from the ranks of NDA allies in today's Modi government. Former members of the NDA are rivals now, and the BJP's Ashwamedh Yagna is nearly accomplished, writes Shekhar Gupta. A recent ad released by jewelry maker Tanishq showed an interfaith couple, and a furious backlash on social media from a section of people forced the Tata Group company to withdraw the ad. It can be nobody's case that India should become a country where public speech, eating habits, alternative ideas are all subservient to restrictive interpretations of a single majority religion, says a Business Standard editorial from this week. It further goes on to say the Tata Group's reluctance to stay firm was unfortunate and sent out a wrong signal that Tata Group cowered in the face of bigotry. The Tatas, who have always taken immense pride in operating a group raised on great values, could have done better, notes the editorial. Business Standard editorial also weighed in on the news of Bangladesh overtaking India this financial year in terms of per capita income. The editorial chides Indian policy making for being increasingly inward-looking and reminds that there are many lessons that India can draw from its eastern neighbor to course correct. This week, the Modi government directed its attention to consumer demand and capital expenditure in the country. It announced two schemes to help boost consumer demand and a 50-year-old interest-free loan plan for states to help push capital expenditure. A Business Standard editorial called the moves positive, but cautioned that they may not have enough impact. It notes that it is clear that the government is not willing to stretch its finances further. The editorial ends by saying that minor tinkering and a reluctant increase in expenditure are unlikely to generate demand at a meaningful scale and in turn help growth in the current circumstances. Those were the views of the week from Business Standard. See you next week for more.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.